Morning, welcome to the second hour of Sunday Supplement. So much to talk about this morning, and still with us our football journalist and broadcaster Julien Laurent, the Telegraph's chief football correspondent Jason Burt. We had a bit of a joke about this before, I won't repeat it, and sports broadcaster and commentator Jackie Oatley. Let's head now to Arsenal. Big win for them at the Emirates yesterday against West Ham United. The Mail on Sunday go with classy Arsenal stroll to the top. Julien, you were at that game at the Emirates. They lost this fixture against West Ham United in the previous two seasons. Highlights how big a win this one was, doesn't it? Yeah, massively. I think they were pretty much always in control, but also there was never a feeling that they would not win that game, if you see what I mean. They knew they could put pressure on Liverpool, who was playing obviously later at Chelsea in a tough game. So they had to perform, and I thought they performed really well. And again, they could have scored more goals. There was hardly nothing for West Ham really through the whole game. It was very exciting to see Mikel Arteta for once, because he's a very dogmatic, structured coach, to try something different in Eze and Odegaard playing together with just Rice as the lower player in the midfield three. I thought you were going to mention handbrake there for a minute. No handbrake for me. But I don't even think there was a handbrake against City, but that's just my opinion. But unfortunately, that didn't last long enough because Odegaard came off injured, unfortunately. But it would have been good to see how that dynamic would have gone in that game with Eze and Odegaard as the 2-10 plus the front three. So a very attacking team from Mikel Arteta. But after that, it was just they did the job pretty well. And again, I think for Bukayo Saka to score, for Declan Rice to score again, but a lot of the movement was very good. Timber was excellent again, Calafiori too. So it was a very good afternoon in the end. Are we seeing a different Arsenal, Jason, from a team that looks like it was going to be thereabouts to actually being there this time? Yeah, I think so. I think obviously Liverpool's recent stutter should obviously encourage them even more. At the start of the season, I wrote that I think it's going to be now or never for Arteta, and that's not criticising him. It's just saying, I think this is the season where he has to go and win that trophy. I know it's not exactly rocket science to say that, but it feels like it's been building and building. And last season will have hurt them in that obviously they had those two second-place finishes behind City, and City stumble and Liverpool overtake them. So that must hurt an awful lot. I think they had a really good window. Fantastic window. I think the squad has got so much depth to it now, and I think you see how he's using that squad really well with the Champions League game midweek and then with yesterday. He seems a bit more relaxed, a little bit more relaxed, because at times I think he can be not necessarily a hindrance to the team, but I think sometimes his behaviour can be a little bit too intense and a bit too much on the touchline. I think he seems a little bit more confident and relaxed and that this is going in the right direction. And they've had a difficult start to the season, by the way. They didn't have some easy... Yeah, they had some difficult fixtures, and they've come through those fixtures well, and they're really well set up. And I really like the balance of the side. And the one thing about Gyökeres is I'm not sure he is the number 9 like a Haaland, but what I think he will do, and notwithstanding yes, I think he will score the goals they didn't score last season. I think because the games that hurt them last season were games like West Ham. They weren't the games against the top sides. It was games like West Ham. I think and we saw that with Leeds when he scored the goals against Leeds. I think he will score in those games, and that might be the difference this season for them. Jackie, I want to pick up on something Jason said about Mikel Arteta looking more relaxed. I was at his news conference before the Olympiacos game, and it's something that resonated with me as well. I joked about handbrake with Julien, and previously that might have irked Mikel Arteta, but he took that with a smile, as he seems to be doing with a lot of the questions that are being posed to him. Is that kind of demeanour rubbing off on his players, do you think? Well, it has an impact, definitely. I mean, this is his 300th game. That's a lot of football matches, and it's such a huge club. Again, we're talking about huge football clubs here today, and we're talking about individual managers, and the weight of the world is on their shoulders. And I think, we've all covered Arsenal for many, many years, and there's always seemed to be one big narrative that's hindered them over the years, hasn't it? Whether it was towards the end of Arsene Wenger's time or whether it was the lack of a striker last season. There's always been the one thing that they just needed to fix. And it just feels now as though those issues have been dealt with, whatever they were, and that all the different parts are there and being put in place. And the fact that Saka, if you can just keep him fit, but they have all the right players available to them. They've recruited really well. They've got a good manager who now looks comfortable in his own skin.
the fan base, everybody starts to believe. And also the fact that Liverpool are having a wobble and the fact that Manchester City are still trying to get back to where they were. They've had their issues as well. Now's the time really for Arsenal to put all those bits together and to make the jigsaw complete and to go and win the league or the Champions League or both this season. Why not?
Jason, you talked about culture before with Manchester United and you alluded to Mikel Arteta. I do recall during the COVID period when he was doing his news conferences, the one thing he mentioned was synergy. Yeah. And he says he needed the synergy between not only the players and himself, but with the fans as well. Yeah. Are we now seeing that circle completed with regard to Arsenal? I would hope so, although going to Arsenal sometimes it can be quite a stressful experience. I think the fans are still slightly on edge on occasions. It does come quite quickly. It has definitely got better. The atmosphere is better. There is much more synergy, as you say, but I think there are occasions, and that Man City game was one recently, where I thought the frustration it's not always that far from the surface. And Jackie spoke before about the Manchester United fans and how patient they've been and how supportive they've been. I think the Arsenal fans have been supportive, but I think there's a lot of frustration there. I think they need to win something, and we can talk about culture, we can talk about all the great work he's done and great squad and promising manager and what a great job he's done in his first job as a manager. But you've got to win something. You talk about 300 games. He's the only one on that list who hasn't won anything, and that's not necessarily to criticise him, but there comes a time where you have to win, and he has to win a trophy. I really do think he has to win a trophy this season. Do you feel that's... Yeah, I just think it's not as simple as just that. I think this is very difficult. It's difficult because Liverpool also are a great team, because City are a great team, and I think Arsenal... to win it, Julian. You have to finally win something. We can talk about second-place finishes and great club and great culture. I know City are great, Liverpool are great, but you have to win. Yeah, finally, I agree with you. And I think he puts enough pressure on himself without us having to tell him, or the fans telling him, you need to win something. He knows that far too well, and he wants to win, and he wants that winning mentality to come through the club as well. So you don't just win once, but you keep winning. Basically, it's all about marginal gains with him. It's all about those small margins that he always talked about, which is great. I just think you need so much things to go your way. You could be a great coach, have great players. You just need to avoid that injury. You need to... This is it. They will be there or just about, and they might not win it, but they would not be far. I agree with you, of course, to validate this project, you need to win something. It helps. But I think they're just heading in the right direction. I think there's a lot of top clubs in England who would like to be in that position. On the pitch, off the pitch, in terms of identity, that synergy that you mentioned. So they're good right now. It's just like, let's see where they are in 6 months' time. And the women won the Champions League, of course, at the end of last season, which was huge for the club as a whole, with a genuine one-club mentality, which a lot of others don't have. They talk about, they don't have. But Arsenal have got everything. They've got everything, and they just need to put it together to create that kind of consistency. And they've got characters. I mean, we've got Declan Rice behind us here. What a leader he is. What a character. What a winner he is. And as a neutral, it'd be great to see them go on and do Player of the Year special. So far for me, Declan Rice. If he carries on like this, he will be Player of the Year, I think. He's been absolutely outstanding. I think he's been brilliant, and I think he's developing into one of the best midfielders in the world. And I know he came like 27th in the Ballon d'Or recently, but I think next year he'll be much higher in the rankings for that Ballon d'Or. Just on something you mentioned before and the squad, everything seems to be in place, and the window that they had addressed a lot of the issues that they seem to have in previous seasons. And I think it's highlighted by the fact that their captain and their talisman almost in Martin Odegaard, a third injury so far this season. This time last year had it happened, and we're not really talking, we'll just bring Zubimendi on. But what's also interesting with Odegaard is there's been a lot of criticism of Odegaard, and he came back and he was brilliant. He was on it straight away. So that shows to me a player who knows his place isn't given anymore in the team. He may be captain, but it's not a given. He's got a lot of competition for his place, so he has to start showing it much more. And I was really interested how well he played. When he came back, he was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, he's got injured again, but I think that's partly because he's pushing himself so hard because of the competition he's now facing. And again, that's got to be healthy. No player's place should be a given, but you're absolutely right. Previously, this would have been an absolute disaster. You know, Martin Odegaard's injured. If Declan Rice gets injured now, it's terrible, but it's not a disaster. They have players there, very... Zubimendi, fantastic player, absolutely brilliant player. Didn't start yesterday, but, you know, he could easily replace Declan Rice if he has to, or play alongside him. So he's got all those different options now. It really is in a strong position. It's the impact as well, that the Serbs bring. So Jason mentioned Zubimendi yesterday, who came on. You know, it was not proper coaching for Arteta. It was just coming on for the injury of Odegaard. But the ball for Eze on the first goal that Rice scores comes from Zubimendi. The ball over the top
for Timber for the penalty. That's Zubimendi as well. We saw the impact of subs against Newcastle or Manchester City in those 2 games. So this is it as well. You can have a big squad and not use it well. But when you have a big squad and use it well and your coaching is working and your subs have an impact, that's where you're winning.
I mean, it is a squad game as well. I mean, like, people took the mickey a little bit out of Arteta when he talked about the starters and finishers, obviously taking that thing from Eddie Jones. But I mean, I know he's in this WhatsApp group with all the different coaches, but he's right. Yeah. He's absolutely right. It is about starters and finishers, and players have to understand that. And even Gareth Southgate's talked about that as well with the England squad before. He said what they used to do was watch the demeanour of players on the bench to see how they behaved and what they were like when they came on and what they're like when they came off, because they've got to understand. Nowadays, a top player, he's not going to play 90 minutes every game. He just can't. It's impossible because of the intensity of the matches and also the need to change things. I think players have to accept they might just play 60, 70 minutes or even 20 minutes. But it's those 20 minutes, as we've seen a lot with Martinelli recently, has made a big difference.
You mentioned before that no one is guaranteed their place and the squad depth is such that there is big competition. Before, we would have been saying the same thing about Bukayo Saka, but when he's been injured so far this season, Arsenal have managed to cope. And in the Sunday Express, it's a nice piece about him having a ton of fun because in his 200th appearance, he made his 100th goal involvement for Arsenal. Absolutely incredible stats with regard to Bukayo Saka, Jackie. Is he someone that they can't live without, potentially? I know we're talking about their squad depth and Noni Madueke has come in, and when Saka was injured, yes, they coped. All well and good, but this is a special player and a special case, isn't it?
Oh, he's a wonderful, wonderful footballer. He just makes me smile when I see him watching and you see his smile. He's just such an infectious personality, but what he does on a football field makes everybody else look better as well. And him cutting inside and his lovely angle balls to the far post, I think Gyökeres is going to be a real beneficiary of those this season. It's just such a beautiful thing to watch. But I think no matter how much money Arsenal spend, if you've got a Saka on the field, then he's still going to be your star man. But they do have young Ethan Nwaneri as well, which is absolutely fabulous young talent. So I think this is the exciting thing about Arsenal. Yes, we can pick out these star individual players, but when you looked at their bench yesterday, you thought, this is a squad that could really win something special this season. I just hope for their sake that they can stay fit and that they maintain that squad depth, because it's good for English football if Arsenal are strong.
I think with Saka, the interesting thing now is he can actually rest him, because the big accusation that Mikel Arteta faced before was he played him, and then he broke down.
His hamstrings.
Yeah, and so he overplayed him. He played every game, didn't he? He played every game. And it was sometimes too much, because
every minute of every game.
Yeah, and he played, and obviously he's overloading in terms of work. So the fact that he can actually take him out now, he doesn't need him for the cup competitions necessarily in the early stages. He can take him out, even some of the Champions League games. He can take him out, so he's got him ready for those big games. Because, as I say, no player is irreplaceable, but I mean, I would say Saka and Rice are the two for me who you think, well, you really want them for the big matches, definitely.
Just on Saka, Julian, you'll probably know about this because this is information that I've got from Arsenal about the kind of person and human being that Bukayo Saka is. He came in with his mum once just to say, oh, what work can I do for the community? Like, voluntarily. Everyone was like, oh, right, sure, yeah, we can do this. He was reading into the history of the football club because he wants to immerse himself in everything that is Arsenal. Yeah. Is that the feeling that you're getting from him? And is he, like, that kind of leadership is in a different way at Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he loves this club, to be fair, and like the whole Saka family, really. And I think he's such a great representative almost of Arsenal everywhere he goes. All his press conferences or post-match interviews, pre-match interviews are brilliant. And he talks about how this club has got together, really, to go back to the points that we were making earlier, in the last 5 or 6 years, where from anybody at the bottom of the club, in a way, to the top, everybody's aligned on the same idea, the same identity, and he's very much at the heart of that, because he feels that. He's a world-class player. For me, there's no debate anymore to have on that. But off the field, he's just the perfect ambassador for this club.
Yeah, really is. Just picking up on something you said, Jason, and you talked about Victor Gyökeres, and potentially he is maybe the player that Arsenal need for those games that they may not have won last season. But are there still a few question marks about him?
I think there are, yeah. He looks a little bit off the pace at the moment, but it's a very early days. I think that, I'm not 100% sold he's going to be that top centre-forward I don't think he's a Haaland. I don't think he's going to be on that level, but I think he will be good enough. I think he'll be good enough for Arsenal. I think he will score those goals. As I say, I have been disappointed a little bit with his general play. I think sometimes it's not quite working. Maybe it doesn't look 100% up to the pace of the match. But I do think overall I understand the signing, and I think it's a signing that works in the here and now.
But it's given them the ability. We're seeing some pictures of him now, and the runs he's making. Perhaps, Jackie, they weren't being made by some of the other Arsenal players in previous seasons.
Yeah, I mean, he is what they've been lacking. I really do think he'll come good. I know he's played in England before, of course, before he went to Portugal, but this Premier League's a different league. It's different to Portugal, it's different to the Championship, of course. And I think it does take time to adapt, and to the players around him and to the runs that they're making and the different personnel and Saka, etc. But I think he'll come good. I think he's a really good, clearly physically strong player, which obviously helps in the Premier League. And I really think he'll be a good signing for Arsenal. Very quickly, Arsenal champions this season?
Yeah, I think so. I tipped them at the start of the season. I think they have everything to be.
Jason?
I tipped Liverpool, so I better stick with them.
Jackie?
Oh, man, I'm not allowed to sit on the fence here, am I?
You can say Wolverhampton.
Oh, yeah, I think Wolves are going to make a run from the bottom of the table all the way to the top, starting with Brighton today.